Pleasure to be here. I was very surprised and delighted when Neville did the invitation, and also hinted that some of our friends may also be here from art school days. So Gavin Fry's flown down from Newcastle, Chris Cust from Adelaide. It just sort of goes to indicate Neville standing amongst us when we were in art school. Opening exhibitions is not something that I usually do. I'm going to refer to notes, but it will be more substantial if I do so. I think Neville probably asked me to open this exhibition because he knew that I've been hung in art galleries, not hung in quite the ways that these pictures are hung on the wall, but nonetheless it's an experience that I've had personally. But I guess it's interesting that when you think about framing, it's something that we do all the time. You know, as human beings, we frame the world. We see it through certain sets of discourses, certain sorts of perceptions, certain kinds of cultural conditionings. So we as bodies frame the world. It's a unique situation to, in fact, frame works of art and memorabilia that Neville is involved in. So what I'd like to read out is what I think is a really interesting comment by Neville that I picked up on the internet. In fact, the closest parallel to the musician that I can think of is the picture framer. The piece of artwork, good, bad or indifferent, is no different to the musical score that the musician starts with. Like the musician, he can use traditional craft skills. The musician may use an original harpsichord to play Mozart. The framer may hand carve and gild a frame. For example, for a fragonard, it is more likely that both the musician and the picture framer will use modern equipment and techniques. The traditional practitioners, if competent, will all show a remarkable homogeneity. Individuality disappears, and that's what we call craft. The greater the artist, the greater the individuality. Just listen to three performers playing the same music and listen for the different range of expression. And you can see with these works that are hung here, these are all individually treated. Neville often fashions the frame to fit the period of the picture or the memorabilia or the artwork. So this is something that is handcrafted, but also is something that's designed with an artistic point of view. So framing is not seen simply as a mode of manufacturing something, but is really a means of expressing a particular human, cultural and historical positioning. So I think this has been important. This is important. We've also found out that he's been an innovator with framing, using laser cutting techniques, computer controlled laser cutting techniques, matte carving, and also heated embossed velvet, which I've actually seen for the first time today. Neville's framed just about everything. I believe, well, you'll see the dead magpie here, but even a cobweb. Now, I haven't seen the framed cobweb, but it doesn't surprise me. The other thing to point out too is, or relating the notion of framing to Heidegger's idea of end-framing, that you know, technology isn't simply hardware. Technology is in fact a mode of revealing. So, you know, in this case, when Neville frames something, he not only provides a structure for the picture or whatever's inside the object, but also isolates it, in a sense, attunes our sensitivity to what's inside. So the world is usually a messy place. Framing something brings it to our attention, and the way the frame is done obviously modulates our feeling to that work. I've got just a list of interesting quotations about framing that I'd like to read out and possibly comment on. G.K. Chesterton, an essayist, novelist, says that art consists of limitation. The most beautiful part of every picture is the frame. So I think it's quite applicable to say that in Neville's presence. And then Pablo Picasso, we've heard of Picasso, and Picasso said, "If I spit, they will take my spit and frame it as a great work of art." So there are probably realms of framing that Neville still hasn't, he probably should aspire to, and if anyone wants to contribute, can do so before you leave. And one of my favourite philosophers of technology, Marshall McLuhan, who says, "It is the framework which changes with each new technology and not just the picture within the frame." So we can see how in these objects on the walls, a range of different techniques and technologies applied to displaying the image or the object. And from popular culture, Martin Scorsese, cinema is a matter of what's in the frame and what's out of the frame. Again, just sort of sensitizing us to the fact that the world is a complex place, and framing a part of the world focuses our attention on that. Frank Zappa, "The most important thing in art is the frame. For painting, literally; for other arts, figuratively, because without this humble appliance, you can't know where the art stops and the real world begins." You have to put a box around it, because otherwise, what is that shit on the wall? Again, this is Frank Zappa. And Erich Fromm, a sociologist and philosopher, psychoanalyst, points out that sanity, that which is within the frame of reference of conventional thought. The idea, in a sense, that we order something within a frame and present it as the artwork. And just to finish up, a quote from Woody Allen, which I'd like to reinterpret for this afternoon's opening. Woody Allen said, "Sex between a man and a woman can be absolutely wonderful, provided you get between the right man and the right woman." And I'd hasten to suggest, you know, with certain conditions, and if it's only applicable to framing, that Neville and Elwyn are that man and that woman. Thank you.
That's a really hard thing to... I quite like my beagle sailing on somewhere.